claimed by the Don. It was just a stupid dare, born from too much expensive tequila. She was supposed to plant a single kiss on the terrifying stranger in the corner booth and walk away. But when his rough hand closed around her waist, she realized she hadn't just kissed a man. She'd claimed a monster. The lighting inside the Ember Room, one of Chicago's most exclusive speakeasies, was built to hide secrets. It threw long velvet shadows against the exposed brick and made the crystal glasses of 25-year Macallan glitter like crushed diamonds. Marisol Vega sat curled into a leather booth, nursing a sparkling water with a lime twist, feeling profoundly out of place. She was a size 18 in a room full of size 2s. She wore a custom midnight blue wrap dress from a boutique on Oak Street, tailored to hug her thick thighs, cinch her waist, and flatter every generous curve she owned. She knew she looked beautiful. Her dark hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders. Her makeup was flawless. But surrounded by the gold-plated, razor-thin elite of the Gold Coast, the old insecurities clawed back in anyway. Across the table, her supposed best friend, Priya, was 3 glasses deep into a bottle of vintage Casamigos. Priya was a former pageant queen with sharp collarbones, a trust fund, and a gift for disguising insults as friendly banter. "Come on, Mary. Live a little," Priya slurred, slamming her shot glass onto the mahogany table. "It's your 26th birthday. You've spent the whole night calculating the tip in your head like we're at a networking event. Do something reckless for once." "I am living," Marisol said smoothly, though her jaw tightened. "I just don't find doing shots until I throw up in an Uber Black particularly glamorous." Priya rolled her eyes, leaning in, her gaze sweeping the dim room. "You never take risks, Mary. You hide. You use your job as a shield." A pause, a smaller, crueler smile. "You use your body as a shield too. You think because you're bigger, men aren't looking. They are. You just never give them the chance." The word landed on a bruise. Marisol gripped her glass. It wasn't that she didn't want attention. It was that she was exhausted by the fetishization. Or worse, the polite surprise men showed when they realized a plus-size woman could be fiercely intelligent and devastatingly gorgeous. She didn't hide. She refused to settle. "I don't hide," Marisol said, her voice dropping. "I have standards." Priya's eyes gleamed, alcohol and mischief in equal measure. "Prove it." She pointed a manicured finger toward the raised corner of the lounge. "Truth or dare? I dare you to go kiss him." Marisol followed the finger, and her breath caught. The man in the VIP alcove wasn't a patron. He looked like he owned the building, the block, possibly the city. Charcoal Tom Ford suit stretched taut over heavy shoulders, dark hair combed back, a jaw made of granite, and a faint shadow of stubble. Eyes so dark they read as empty. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't speaking to the 2 enormous tattooed men flanking his table. He was simply watching the room with a cold, patient stillness, like a man counting things he already owned. "Absolutely not," Marisol whispered. "Look at him, Priya. He looks like he collects debts for a living. His security will tackle me before I get within 5 feet. "Coward," Priya sang, loud enough to turn heads. "The safe, funny, fat friend. Always playing it safe." That did it. Safe. Funny. Fat. A flash of clean, uncharacteristic fury burned through Marisol. She pushed her glass away, stood, smoothed the blue fabric over her hips. "Hold my purse." Before her rational brain could hit the brakes, she was crossing the Persian rug, every step like walking through wet cement, heels clicking a rhythm she didn't recognize as her own. As she reached the alcove, the 2 men in suits shifted, hands drifting toward their jackets. "Ma'am, this is private," one began, voice like gravel. The man in the Tom Ford suit lifted a single hand, a heavy silver ring catching the light. The guard went still. Marisol stood before the table. Up close, he was worse. His cologne a low, expensive wall of cedar, tobacco and leather. He didn't say a word. He looked up at her, his gaze traveling slow, unhurried, from her collarbone to her hips and back to her face. There was no polite surprise in it, only heat. "I'm sorry," she blurted. "I lost a bet." Before he could answer, before she could lose her nerve, she leaned down to brush her lips against his cheek. A fast, harmless peck to satisfy Priya's cruel little game. He moved first. A large, calloused hand closed around the curve of her waist. Not rough, but immovable, an iron band, and pulled her forward, off balance, straight into his lap. Her chest met the solid wall of his. She gasped, and the sound vanished into his mouth. He didn't accept the peck. He took the kiss. Slow, devastating, certain. His other hand slid up into her hair, tangling at the nape of her neck. Her whole body lit up, like she'd been struck by something ancient. She had never been touched like this, like reverence, like ownership. For one long second she kissed him back, hands finding the heavy muscle beneath his jacket. When he finally drew back, the lounge had gone dead silent. Marisol was panting, lipstick smeared, staring into eyes that showed no trace of a joke. He dragged his thumb over her bottom lip. "You taste like lime," he said, voice a low, graveled thing. "What's your name?" Panic broke through the haze. What had she done? "I have to go." She scrambled off his lap, legs shaking. "Wait." A command, not a request. She didn't look back. She fled the ember room, ignoring Priya's shocked shout, out onto the cold wind of the avenue, hailing a cab with a frantic wave. In the back seat, heart hammering, waist still burning where his hand had gripped her, she understood one thing clearly. She'd survived the dare. But the look in that man's eyes said the game was far from over. Morning light in Marisol's Lincoln Park apartment was aggressively bright. She sat at the kitchen island, 3 ibuprofen and lukewarm coffee deep, typing furiously. The ghost of a hand on her waist had kept her up half the night. She'd shoved it aside by focusing on what was real. She was a senior auditor at Halloway & Kern. She had a mortgage, a strict runway to partner, and no room in her life for reckless speakeasy behavior. Today mattered. The firm had landed a massive new client, a sprawling logistics conglomerate, and she'd been handed the initial risk assessment. By 9, she was crossing the marble lobby of the Kestrel Tower, sharp in a tailored charcoal suit and crisp white blouse, curves draped like armor. She felt, for the first time since the bar, entirely in control. She stepped into the 54th floor boardroom. Her boss, Neil, nervous, balding, pacing, spun toward her. "Marisol, thank God. The CEO's coming down personally. They're moving billions through their shipping lanes. We cannot lose this account." "Breathe, Neil." She set her portfolio on the table. "It's numbers. I've read the filings. Standard holding company, heavy infrastructure assets. We map cash flow, flag variances. Done in 3 weeks." The double doors opened. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. 4 men walked in, 3 broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, moving like a tactical unit rather than executives. The 4th, walking dead center, stopped the air in Marisol's lungs entirely. It was him. He wore navy today, a gold watch heavy on his wrist, and his eyes swept the room with the same predatory calm, until they found her. He stopped. A slow, chillingly satisfied smile pooled at his mouth. "Mr. Castellano," Neil stammered, hand out. "Thank you for trusting Halloway & Kern. I'm Neil Ashford, senior partner. This is our lead auditor, Marisol Vega. Castellano. The name detonated quietly in her mind. Rafael Castellano. The reclusive billionaire who'd taken over Castellano Holdings 5 years ago. A ghost in the financial press. He ignored Neil's hand completely, circling the table toward Marisol instead. Footsteps unhurried and deliberate. "Miss Vega," he said, her name wrapped in that same low voice. "What a coincidence. We only just missed each other last night." Neil blinked between them. "You two know each other?" "Briefly acquainted," Raphael said, leaning close enough that only she could hear. "Though she left before I could return the favor." Marisol's pulse slammed, but her spine found its steel. "I apologize for the abrupt exit, Mr. Castellano. I had an early morning ahead of me. Shall we start with your quarterly ledgers?" Something dark and amused flickered in his eyes. He liked that she didn't shrink. "Of course, one condition." He turned his head toward Neil, eyes still on her. "Miss Vega works from my private office. No intermediaries." Neil nodded so fast it looked painful. "Whatever you need, Mr. Castellano." For 3 days, Marisol's life became a quiet, high-stakes war. Moved to the 72nd floor, glass, steel, silence. She found Raphael a constant, looming presence. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. When she ordered a sad desk salad, it vanished, replaced by handmade tortellini and imported burrata, with a flat order that she eat something that actually nourished her. When she complained the office AC was Arctic, a courier arrived within the hour, carrying a cashmere wrap cut to drape perfectly over her shoulders and full bust. He was paying attention to her body, anticipating it. It terrified her exactly as much as it thrilled her. But Marisol was good at her job. Too good. Thursday night, long after the floor had emptied, she stayed hunched at the glass desk in his outer office while rain lashed the windows. She was tracing a web of shell companies under Castellano Logistics, and the numbers weren't adding up. Millions routed through a concrete subsidiary in Cicero, vanishing offshore, returning clean as real estate. Textbook laundering on a scale that iced her blood. She printed the ledger, needing to cross-check it against the physical files in his private office. The mahogany door stood slightly ajar. She meant only to grab a folder from the credenza. Instead, she froze in the doorway. Raphael stood at the window, back to her, a burner phone at his ear. The corporate polish was gone. His voice was a low, guttural snarl. "I don't care what the alderman promised. He has 24 hours to sign off on the port expansion, or I bury him. I have the photographs. I have the wire transfers. Tell him if he crosses this family again, I won't end his career. I'll erase his name from every registry in this city. He'll be less than a ghost." Marisol stopped breathing. The port. The Cicero shell companies. The pieces slammed together with horrible clarity. This wasn't a logistics empire. This was the outfit. And she had kissed, and was now auditing, the most dangerous man in the Midwest. The ledger slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a soft, damning slap. Raphael went silent. Slowly he ended the call, pocketed the phone, and turned. His eyes found her standing frozen in the doorway, found the papers on the ground between them. "Well," he said, voice quiet, and started walking toward her. "It seems my auditor is working overtime." Marisol couldn't move. Raphael crossed the office with unhurried, deliberate grace, the storm-lit skyline throwing his silhouette long across the floor. He didn't look angry. That was the terrifying part. No rage in his eyes, only cold, calm possession. He stopped inches away, crouched, and picked the ledger up off the floor, smoothing the pages with 2 fingers. Thorough, he murmured, rising to his full height. Most auditors would have glossed past the shell discrepancies to hit Friday's deadline. Not you. Let me leave. Her voice shook, despite everything she asked of it. I'll resign tomorrow. Wipe my laptop. I saw nothing. I know nothing. A low, dark laugh rumbled out of him. His knuckles grazed her cheek. She didn't pull away. Couldn't. You're a terrible liar, Tesoro, he said softly. And we both know you can't leave now. You can't keep me here. A flare of her old defiance broke through. She straightened to her full height. I'm a senior auditor at a major firm. I have people who'd look for me. Sweet Marisol. Something like pity crossed his face. Who do you think sent you to me? She blinked. What? Neil Ashford. He stepped closer until his chest nearly brushed hers. He owes my associates $2 million from a very bad habit at the Horseshoe. When I told him I needed a firm to sign off on a legitimate port acquisition, he offered you. He knew my books weren't clean. He hoped you'd rubber stamp them on your way to partner, and if you dug too deep, he assumed I'd handle it quietly. He threw you to me to save himself. The betrayal landed like a physical blow. Every late night, every sacrifice, a pawn in a desperate man's debt. Why tell me this? She whispered, eyes stinging with fury. Because I don't want to eliminate you. His hand slid to her waist, palm heavy and sure against the curve of her hip. You walked up to me at the Ember Room looking like a goddess in blue and showed no fear. Men spend their lives trembling in front of me. You sat in my lap and stole the air out of the room. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. You think your size is something to hide? To me, it's a crown. And right now, I need my queen's mind. A chaotic current of fear and something far more dangerous ran through her. Need me for what? The FBI is building a case, he said, business sliding back into his voice. Agent Grant Kavanagh has circled my operations for 2 years. He knows about Cicero. He doesn't have the paper trail yet. I need you to bury the money so deep in legitimate trusts that he goes blind looking. Fix my books, Marisol, and I'll give you the world. And if I refuse, then Kavanagh raids this building by Tuesday. I go to federal prison, and Neil makes sure the lead auditor takes the fall in my place. His thumb traced her hip. We're chained together now, Tesoro. She looked into his dark, unreadable eyes. The corporate world had never protected her. Priya mocked her. Neil sold her. And for the first time in her life, the monster in front of her was the only one offering real power. She rested her fingers against his lapel. I want Neil fired, stripped of his pension, and full autonomy over the trust structuring. You don't question my methods. A slow, triumphant smile broke over his face. He wrapped his arm fully around her waist, pulling her flush against him. Deal. 3 weeks later, the grand hall of the Greer Conservatory shimmered with wealth and quiet secrets. The Chicago Historical Society's annual gala, a sea of diamonds and champagne. Marisol stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the dark sweep of Lake Michigan, no longer the cautious auditor hiding behind charcoal wool. Tonight, she wore a custom emerald silk gown, a sweetheart neckline framing her full bust, the fabrics cinching her waist before spilling over her hips in a dramatic train. She looked like royalty. She felt like it too. Across the room, Raphael held court with 2 state senators and a judge, his eyes flicking to her every few seconds, tracking, guarding. The weight of it had become a strange kind of comfort. The past 3 weeks had been a blur of encrypted servers and late nights. She'd dismantled the Castellano family's dirty financial architecture and rebuilt it, clean, in a maze of charitable trusts rooted through the Caymans. She had outsmarted the federal government. Miss Vega, or should I say, the new chief financial officer of Castellano Holdings. She turned. A tall man with silvering hair and eyes like chipped ice flashed a badge from inside his tuxedo. Special Agent Grant Kavanaugh, FBI. A smug smile. You look stunning tonight. Quite the upgrade from your salary at Halloway and Kern, wouldn't you say? She didn't flinch. She sipped her champagne. Good evening, Agent Kavanaugh. I don't discuss compensation at charity events. He leaned in, voice dropping to a hiss. You think you're clever. A number cruncher who decided to play mobster. We know about the kiss at the Ember Room. We know Castellano used you to scrub the Cicero books. You can hide the paper trail for now, but I will tear your life apart, subpoena your family, freeze your accounts. Turn now and I can protect you from him. Marisol laughed, a real, dark, startled-sounding laugh that visibly threw him. Protect me? She tilted her head. Agent Kavanaugh, you have nothing. I restructured Castellano Holdings into a fortress. Every dollar is accounted for in audited, sovereign-backed philanthropic trusts. Subpoena me and my legal team, the most expensive in the state, will sue the Bureau for harassment before your case sees a judge's desk. You'll lose your pension and your badge first. Kavanaugh's face went blotchy red, smugness curdling into something more desperate. You arrogant. Is there a problem here, Agent? The temperature dropped. Raphael's presence swallowed the space beside her, his hand settling firm and possessive at her waist, fingers pressing into emerald silk. Enjoy the party, Castellano, Kavanaugh spat. The feds don't sleep. Neither do we. Raphael's voice was ice. Now get away from my woman before my security introduces you to the lake. Kavanaugh backed off, vanishing into the crowd. Raphael turned her gently to face him, his eyes sweeping her face like the rest of the gala didn't exist. Did he upset you? Not even a little. She smiled, hands finding the solid plane of his chest. I just reminded him he's playing checkers on a board we own. He let out a rough, quiet breath, forehead dropping to hers. You're magnificent. You saved my empire. You saved me. I just did my job, Mr. Castellano, she teased. No. His gaze burned, absolute. You took your throne. Under the vaulted glass ceiling of the conservatory, in full view of Chicago's glittering elite, Raphael Castellano kissed her, commanding, consuming, exactly like the first one at the Ember Room. But this time, Marisol didn't run. She wrapped her arms around the neck of the most dangerous man in the city and kissed him back with everything she'd spent a lifetime holding in reserve. She'd been dared to kiss a monster. She'd ended up his queen.